Happy Friday, Sretan Petak. Welcome to 5 Question Friday. I am Sarah of Expat in Croatia, and every Friday at 5 o'clock Croatia time, answer 5 questions from people who have sent them in on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, expatinCroatia.com, my consulting sessions, email, and people who write them down on lovely college-ruled notebook paper, fold it into an airplane, and then throw it at me. So today's a super special edition. I am in Sarajevo visiting some friends. I've never been to Sarajevo before, and actually right this moment I am at the bobsled tracks from the 1984 Olympics, which is pretty darn neat. It was really hard to get a signal here, so I'm not in like the big showstopper part, but I'll definitely be sharing some pictures of that. But you can see a little bit of it right now, okay? That up there, that's a track. And that's my friend Lucia. Hi, Lucia. She's doing behind the scenes. So there may be some other people who are walking around, and we're just going to have to deal with that. And the bees, because we're in nature and stuff. So I'm here for the weekend and can't wait. Yeah, people walking by. So that's just going to happen for this whole thing. Anyways, I'm here for the weekend. I'm visiting my friends. They used to live in Croatia, and they moved away 15 months ago, which made me very, very sad. But seeing them here now for the first time, and that I'm just jumping out of my skin. So we came up. There's a funicular that you can go up the mountain, and then you can walk just like 10 minutes to the bobsled track. So they're full of graffiti, and they're all grown over with moss and stuff. It's pretty neat. It's pretty neat. The funicular was a little scary because I'm scared of heights. And it's kind of funny, the guy I buy fruit from on my Pazar also recommended going up this funicular, and you see the entire city of Sarajevo. It's pretty extraordinary. So I'm going to go ahead and dig into the questions. My friend Samir, who I'm visiting, who's, 200 meters that direction, just requested to be join the live video. What is he doing? Okay. All right. We're going to go ahead and get started. So this first question comes in from Mary on our 5 Question Friday forum, which you can always find in our Instagram profile, as well as on expatinCroatia.com, and also in our newsletter. So, Zdravo Sada, I'm curious if you have any information on the following situation: 2 EU citizens, 1 German, 1 Croatian, dual citizenship with USA, and do not reside in the EU. I love that volume of detail because those kinds of things matter. Looking to stay long-term within the 183 days to start without establishing residence. In the meantime, looking to see what the best healthcare solution would be for us while we are there, short of still having U.S. healthcare that we use while in the USA. P.S. I'm super impressed with all the information, resources, and the knowledge share that you all provide. Amazing. Thank you so much. It is a labor of love, and we all love doing it. It's super hard work, but it's the best job in the world, so thank you so much for the compliment. Okay, so 2 EU citizens, essentially they want to be in Croatia less than 6 months, and they want to know what their healthcare options are since they can't sign up for the state healthcare. Now, there is one clarification that I want to make. They seem to think that they can be in Croatia for 6 months without applying for residence, and that's not true. That's not accurate. So the Croatian citizen, they don't have to do anything. They have to register their address, for sure, absolutely. But the German citizen has to register as a resident before the end of their 90-day stay. So they can't be here 6 months without telling Croatia about it. Okay, so in terms of healthcare options, so one, you can always get travel insurance. That's one option, and we do have a vetted insurance agency that we use here in Croatia. Well, I'm not here in Croatia right now. I'm in Bosnia, but if I were in Croatia, then saying here in Croatia would be accurate. In Croatia, we have a vetted insurance agency that can help with travel insurance. Aside from that, honestly, what I would say is the best choice is going to a polyclinica. So a polyclinica is a practice that has multiple specialties under it. It's usually private. I mean, there are public versions of this, but there are lots of private ones. And so when you pay out of pocket, you're only paying like maybe 50 euros to see a family doctor, 80 euros to see a specialist. I had my thyroid checked once at a polyclinica, and it only cost me about 60 euros, I want to say. Ooh, there's some quads coming, if you can hear their roar. And you can also have other higher level procedures and diagnostics done by them. And you can pay out of pocket. It's not that much. And for the Americans in the crowd, you pretty much are just paying what you pay out of pocket as a copay to go to a polyclinica. The standard care is pretty high, and when you're dealing with a private polyclinica, usually they do speak English, so that's what I would recommend. There are two in particular that have locations all across the country. That's Agram and Croatia Polyclinica. I will mention them down in the caption once I post this replay. I'll tag them so that you can go and check them out, but they have at least 5 to 7 locations around the country, and they're pretty reliable. So that's what I would suggest. It's really common in Croatia to supplement the public system with the private system because sometimes people don't want to wait for stuff. They just want to, not wait for stuff. So you can pretty easily get into a polyclinica for procedures and diagnostics without a long wait that you might experience with the public system. I'm so glad you barely heard the quads. That's great. Because I had a mic, I brought it all the way to Sarajevo, and then I forgot it at my friend's apartment. So thank you for letting me know that. That gave me a lot of peace. Okay, so thank you so much for that question, Mary. And now we have another question from a different Mary. 2 completely different Marys featured on this one. This Mary I spoke to on a consulting session. And she said, what is the faith life like in Croatia? Do people still go to church? Is religion a big part of daily life? So I reached out to our team about this one because I wanted to get everyone's opinion on what they experience, what their perception is on this. So Lorena, who is from Šibenik, she's Croatian. I would say that people still go to church, especially for the main Christian holidays like Easter, Christmas, Velika Gospa. Velika Gospa's on Tuesday, by the way. I think that faith is still quite important to many Croats, but at the same time, I believe that the majority of them are much more open-minded when it comes to all Christian matters. And then Cam, our new junior consultant, she's in Jaska. She said, I think there is a generational difference with how the general population looks at going to Mass and following traditions. In my small village of about 400 people, most, both old and young, attend church every day. Every Sunday. Not every day, every Sunday. Okay, and then Maria, she's also Croatian. She's lives in Hrvatska Zagorje. She said, in my region, people primarily do not consider religion a big part of their life. Even the ones who believe in God usually do not go to church. Mostly older people go to church, and you can always see the same few faces. The youth is more and more liberal, and they often don't practice any religion. Some still baptize children, and some do it because of tradition and not faith. Many Croats are Catholics on paper due to the tradition, but they don't practice it. I would say the answer usually depends on the region, who lives there, just older people or a mixture, and how much it is developed, diverse, and liberal, in quotation marks. Older people are usually raised religiously, so they never question this topic. For many, it is how it is, but younger people, especially the ones who live in more developed areas, question the issue of religion, and many do not practice it. So that gives a pretty comprehensive view of how that is in Croatia. So thank you so much, Mary, to that question. We got a question actually up here, so I'm going to go ahead and I am Janie M. Hi. Since we are still on the topic, I just got my temporary residence and I need to go to a dentist. But is there a difference in the cost during season and peak season? Thank you in advance. Ooh, that's a great question. Not in my experience. There has not been a difference. So Croatia has dental tourism, which basically means that you can get a really high standard of care in private practices. So there are public options. There is public benefits on your basic health insurance with the state health insurance fund, but everyone I know just goes private anyways because it's really affordable. And like I said, the standard of care is really high. So many Italians will come over to Croatia to get their dental work done because the cost is so affordable. People are going to walk by, so I'm going to pause for a minute while they do that. Okay. Okay, so I spend 50 euros to get my teeth cleaned, and the x-rays are free, and they've never increased the cost because of season. I can't speak comprehensively to every single dental office in the country, but I would be surprised if they raise the prices during summer, because I'm sure that noise would kind of get around, and people wouldn't like that very much. Thank you so much for the question. That's a great one. Never gotten that one before. Okay. All right. So next, this comes from Mark. He also submitted this on our 5-Question Friday forum. I've been sent a bill. Oh, yeah. I love this question. Okay. I have been sent a bill for 119 euros, 40 cents, for Perezno Riešenje for my apartment in Istria that I have owned for 15 years. I understand that this is charged for second homes. Although I own my main residence in the UK, the Croatian authorities wouldn't know that in any case. I would have thought the charge would only apply to second homes in Croatia. Should I be expected to pay this charge? So I want to clarify what Perezno Riešenje means, which I don't say Riešenje very well, so sorry about that. I've been trying for years. Lucia's like, yeah, I know. I completely agree. So, Riešenje or Riešenje maybe, means decision, and Perezno is tax. So tax decision. So he got a tax decision on his apartment, as a tax for a second home because his main home is in the UK. So I spoke to one of our vetted tax advisors about this because I was not familiar with this. And this is what she said. She said, based on the amount, it's clearly a tax on a second home. And the reason that they would know it's a second home is because this person is not registered at that address as their main address. So yes, it is considered a second home, and yes, that tax must be paid. So it's not about a second home in Croatia. It's about a second home, period. So there you go. If you'd ever like to speak to a tax advisor, we have a few of those in our network that we have vetted that are super great. They can do evaluations on your tax liability, help you file your income taxes if you have foreign income abroad, and they can also guide you on business stuff. So if you would like a connection, just send us a DM and we'll be more than happy to connect you. All right. So this next question actually came from 2 people. We got the same question. So I'm going to read both of their questions and then I'll answer it. So the first one is from Oybek. I have a work permit from Croatia. I have a child and a wife in Uzbekistan. I need to bring them, whether it is a family reunification program or in some other way. Can you help with this problem? Okay. Next, this is from Jessa. My husband is a Filipino worker in Croatia. Is it possible that he can apply for family reunification for us? So there's a little bit to unpack here. It's not like a straight yes or no answer because it depends on a couple of things. So there are 2 types of work permits in Croatia. There's a standard work and residence permit and there's an EU blue card. And those 2 things are different. Okay. So an EU blue card is for highly skilled nationals. Now, that means that you need to have some kind of higher education or formal certification that shows that you are qualified to do the job that you have been hired for. Okay. And you also have to make a certain amount. I think you have to make 1.5 times the national average or something like that. Now, one great thing about there are a couple things that are great about the EU Blue Card is, one, if your employer gives you a work contract for 2 years, then you can get a work and residence permit for 2 years, which is great. And then also you can bring your family with you immediately. So that's also super great. Now, I want to make sure it's abundantly clear. You have to be offered a job to be able to apply for the EU Blue Card. Okay? Now, the second type is the standard work and residence permit. That's what most people get. There is no minimum. Well, you have to make at least the minimum wage, but of course that's for everybody. But your family can only join you after the first year. So you can't bring anyone with you for the first year. You have to wait a year of working, and then in the second year you can bring your family with you. So based on the context of what Oybek and Jessa told me, I don't know if Jessa's spouse is on a EU Blue Card or standard work and residence permit, or if Oybek is on a standard work permit or an EU Blue Card. So it's just going to depend on that. But yeah, that's essentially it. Now, we do have guides on all of these things. So if you'd like a guide on the standard work permit or the EU Blue Card, just send us a DM. I'll be more than happy to send that over to you. So it looks like we have a comment. So it sounds like you need to register. He needs to register his home as his home in Croatia because it is his address in Croatia. Not sure how that is legally done, but it sounds like it. Well, to register his residence, his home in Istria as his primary residence, then he has to be here to maintain residence. And as a third country national, which I think based on the context clues, if he lives in the UK, he's probably a UK citizen. That means he's a third country national post-Brexit. So what that means is if you are a non-EU national, you have to be in Croatia. Well, let me flip this around. If you are a third country national, you cannot leave Croatia for more than 90 days per year, and you cannot leave Croatia for more than 30 days at one time to maintain your residence. So if this is his second home and he only comes here on vacation, he's not going to be able to maintain that residence. So he would have to apply for residence to be able to register that home as his residence. So he would have to go through that whole bureaucratic process. And even then, he wouldn't be able to maintain it, and then he'd be caught, and then he'd be fined, and he'd have to pay that fine when he returned to Croatia. So if he's not living there for more than 9 months per year, it doesn't make sense. And it's only a €120 bill, so it's not giant. It's not giant. Thank you so much for that comment. Okay. Next question is from Justin. Ooh, this is our last question, guys. Okay, Justin, this is also from our 5-question Friday forum. The ancestry back to my Croatian great-grandfather is matrilineal. Is it required or recommended that I gather marriage certificates for my mother and grandmother that demonstrate name changes for them due to marriage? So I did not know the answer to this question, so I spoke to our lawyer about it, and she said, yes, if you cannot show connection from birth certificates, then marriage certificates are definitely going to be valuable to show the name changes, because you have to make sure that you can properly show through the lineage that every single person is connected from your ancestor all the way to you. Now, if it's a parent-child relationship, that's pretty easy to show. But if you're dealing with a great-grandparent, you also have to show the grandparent and then your parent connecting, and all of those names are going to have to match. They're very strict about names matching. Very, very strict. So, guys, that's it. That's it for this week. Thank you so much for tuning in for my little jaunt in Sarajevo. I was so nervous it was going to be too loud, because as I was sitting here preparing, there were like 1,000 people around me. And it's actually not been too terrible, right? So, well, of course, I spoke too soon, apparently. So now I'm going to continue my adventure with my lovely friends Samir and Lucia. And I just want to share this with you. So earlier in the year, I posted a video called The Hardest Thing About Being an Expat. And that was based on a post that I wrote last year. And I love that post. And I wrote it about them. I wrote it about them because they're like my parents. And I was really, really sad when they left. And it is super challenging as when you're living abroad. It just seems like you more naturally tend to fall into groups where people are transient and they leave, and you know, when you've bonded super hard, it's really sad to see them go. They can hear me. I love you too. So anyways, I just wanted to connect those dots. So if you have not read that post, I would highly recommend reading it. And Danny, if you send us a DM, she'll be more than happy to send you that post so you can check it out. But it's really super close to my heart. So yeah, thanks guys. Thank you so much for being here. If you have a question you want to see answered on 5-Question Friday, send us a DM, drop us a comment, message us, send a thing for the contact form. I will be more than happy to answer it here. I love weird questions. The weirder the better. I love this time with you, and I can't wait to see you next Friday for another edition of 5-Question Friday. I'm Sarah of Expat in Croatia. The replay will be in my profile shortly. See you later. Bye. Vida will say ciao.